What did you make of those two returns to action?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in terms of the performance as a whole. And we listened to Pep speaking post match, and he was actually happier with the first half than with the second half, which is quite interesting from kind of a layperson's perspective, seeing the goals and how we seem to be more efficient and a more clinical second half. I'm always looking at individual performances. People have been waxing lyrical about Rico Lewis, and rightly so. And you actually see that, fascinating as it is, it feels as though when you become an inverted fullback, that expression that we use a lot, and it's come from Pep Guardiola's football, from nowhere else. Rico seems more comfortable than Kyle Walker in that situation, in my opinion. That's no disrespect to Kyle Walker. Kyle's a fabulous footballer. We all know that. And if we're picking our strongest back four, you'd argue that Kyle's in there, but possibly. However, in certain games, certain situations, I thought that was really, really clever. Pep talked about not being able to drop him because he's been playing so well, but actually because of how Leeds set up, just creating that extra body in there, knowing how they'll come at you, and there'll be tackles flying everywhere, lots of free kicks that are going to be given, and lots of opportunities to maybe get Kevin on the ball. I thought it was fascinating. Ilkay was very good. Rodri, he's just a sensation, Rodri. It almost feels like he's got that steel of Roy Keane and the passing ability, and he's probably got more to his game. No disrespect to Roy Keane either, but just feels like he's just very, very accomplished. But I really enjoyed the creativity last night, and the fact that on a different day, we could have been 5 goals up at halftime against Leeds United. And Leeds worked tirelessly, and they're very organised and they're compact. But you just felt that, it's the first game back, and there was one situation, I don't know if you can all remember it last night, but it was about 16, 17 minutes into a game, and they had 6 players pressing us, and it was in our left back position, and we just passed it. We passed it across from Akanji to Ake. I think Jack was in the corner, and we came back out to Edis, and it was just so controlled. It was so composed. We're not flustered at all, and Rico was in the middle of all that as well. It's just the angles, the pass, the weight of the pass, the movement, the fact that you can give somebody the ball in a tight situation, it back, have it back again and give it back. So all the time, the movement around we don't always see. It's so intelligent. It feels as if you're watching FIFA all the time, watching Manchester City, because the touch and the passing is just so, so good. And it then lends itself to, when we do have maybe 1 or 2 areas where you're thinking, is that an area that perhaps we can improve upon? So as an example, I'm sure we all love Jack Grealish, and I'm desperate for Jack Grealish to score more goals and to play well. But it feels like if Phil Foden plays last night, he scores 2-3 goals. And therefore, you have to rotate, and we scored 3, and we should have scored a lot more. But you do feel that the more that Jack is playing like that, and he does do well, and he does provide assists, and he is effective. But he's just, for me, that's the difference why when we're playing our strongest 11, Jack Grealish won't start. And that's hypercritical, I know, but he gets those opportunities. He has to score one last night. He has to. He squared one for Haaland, and every man and his dog knew he was going to square that. And it's not because he can't finish. It's because he is not confident in front of the goal. And that's an area of his game that he has to work on. And if we're thinking about Champions League and getting to those, later echelons, and even hopefully winning it one day, players like Jack Grealish have to do more. They have to score more goals. They have to be more clinical. Riyad Mahrez scored a wonder goal against Liverpool, and he needs to do more going that way. Jack does that. He does all that work. But, these are the games where, because we're so good, the lens hones in on those little, 0.5% here, 0.5% there, those marginal gains we talk about. And I'm desperate for him. He's a lovely kid. And you just know that he's got so much talent and so much more. But Cheesy, for me, you know, it almost becomes a spotlight then. And he needs to do more in front of goal, because, you know, when we're playing against Arsenal, and people are all talking about Arsenal haven't got strong enough bench, and Arsenal this and Arsenal that, and Arsenal will fade. I'm telling you now, Arsenal aren't going anywhere. Arsenal are not fading. They are not fading. And if you look at how we are, we have to go to Arsenal and beat them. So the pressure's on us now. We can do it. Of course we can do it. But Arsenal are not going to drop 2 places. They're going nowhere. And they will be our biggest challenge at the end of the season. And that is whether they have injuries or not. Because you look at their team and look at how they play and how confident they are. They are almost taking a stranglehold of games, and they are bullying teams into submission with a young team, with a confident team, with a very, very organised team, and with a brilliant manager who's come from we know where. So Jack Grealish in those moments has to be the difference. He can't be a support act. We've got players that are worth £100 million, and he's got that talent. He has got to step up. You know, he can't allow himself. He has to demand that he's in the starting 11. And that's the reason why he won. And it's those games when we're that good that, and I know it's awful, because I don't mean to be critical to Jack, because I know he's a wonderful talent, you know, and you want him to be that player. But it's those games that highlight it. Haaland should have scored 5 last night, you know, by his standards, but he scored a couple and he was thereabouts. You know, Ilkay should have scored that header, you know, but Jack had 3 chances last night, 3 chances. And on 3 occasions, he didn't come up with it. And you watch, when we get to the bigger games, he's not going to be in the starting 11. And, you know, that's the thing that I want him to improve upon, to work more on his finishing. Because everything else to his game is brilliant, keeps the ball so well, moves it well. You know, and we've not talked about Riyad Mahrez, who, you know, again, I think he's a confidence player, but played really well. So our defence looks good, whether we bring in Diaz, whether we bring in Laporte. I always like a left-sided player playing as a centre-half, so whether it's Ake or Laporte. Rico Lewis has been a sensation and a real headache for Pep in a good way. The midfield, whether it's with that 3, which is incredible, and there's that other little player that we don't talk much about, Bernardo Silva, who, does he start? You know, yeah, probably. You know, fantastic. That area is all sorted. It's those wide players. It's Haaland, it's Phil, and it's who. And these are the games that will iron that out. And at the moment, the way Jack is, I just feel that he just needs to take those chances.